Hey, what's up YouTube? Tonight we're at the eve of the Gauntlet. I think I'm recording this video of only like roughly 8 hours left before the start. Okay, I need to make this video pretty fast because I need to get to sleep. And in this video, I'm going to talk about the findings I had through practice and what I actually believe this character will be able to accomplish. And I'm going to touch briefly upon the subject matter of sleep and whether you can actually finish the whole Gauntlet event, which should last roughly like 50 hours if everything goes according to plan. 50 to 60 hours. This is for Slayers and Duelists though. And if you could actually do it in one sleep. And yeah. So let's get straight into the gear overview and talk about what I learned from this character in practice. So I played the Berserker for a while and I've come to some conclusions. Which is that two-hander with Aspect of the Carnage will probably not live. You will probably not be able to do all the bosses. And you will probably die while mapping and trying to farm Shaper and Elder sets. And this node here is a big bait. The cannot be stunned is not reliable after testing it out a lot. And losing 5 to 6% of your life is a huge ordeal, and it makes the character feel really squishy. And this means that one-hander and shield is the only way to play this character. So for the gear, we currently have a one-hander. This is a really bad one-hander. I think it's absolutely horrendous. It's a 325 top end. You probably are going to be looking for a 400 top end weapon if you want to do the hardest content in the game. And I would not advise you to start like doing the hard bosses without a better weapon than this. My shield is a red blade banner. Now this shield is unique because your war cries have infinite power, which means every time you war cry, you get 60 rage or your maximum amount of rage. So this means that this node here, right here, that says Warcry sacrifice 10 rage if you have at least 25 rage, it doesn't matter. If you have at least 25 rage, Warcry sacrifice 10 rage if you have at least 25 rage. So that means you can immediately get back to 50 as soon as you do it. So you can see it sacrifices 10 if it's above 25, and then as soon as you go below 25 and you use your Warcry, you immediately go back to 60. So that means you can keep Berserk up for a very long time. So you can see it's going down. It goes back up. And then Berserk makes it so the rage degens faster and faster. And yeah, and you can just keep it up. So you can keep Berserk up for a very long time. Some would say almost infinite. Obviously it's not infinite, but it can last for quite a while, right? And this, when is your Berserk, you have a 20% physical damage reduction. Sorry for the screaming, but you'll be hearing it in the video. I think my girlfriend's playing some game, and who knows, maybe it's a horror game or something. But what's it called? The helm. Sorry, I'm so distracted. It's pretty funny. So the chest piece, I have a 5-link. It's just not acceptable. So it has chance to avoid elemental ailments and chance to avoid stun. And I also crafted on Fortify Focused effect. And this also has life on it. And this 5-link is Earth Shatter, Impale, Brutality, Fist of War, and Fortify. If I had a 6-link, I would probably use Melee Fizz. But not having a 6-link makes the build feel really bad because the damage is just not there. So you can't have a bad weapon and a 5-link. So if you had a 350 top end one-hander or 400 top end one-hander with a 6-link, then I believe the build can do everything. And the ring, I have a Vuln on hit ring. And then I have a regular ring with some dex and some stats. These rings are also not ideal because you want reduced channeling costs. So ideally, you take one of these rings here. This does not have a prefix. So this one has a prefix. And a prefix you craft on -7. And if you have -7, 3 -7s on the 2 rings and 1 amulet, this will make it so your war cries cost no mana and your attack will cost no mana. So you don't need to worry about if you have mana or not, which is a pretty big deal. However, I just didn't get the time to farm as much as I would like, so a lot of this gear is pretty unoptimal and doesn't have enough resistance stats on it. So you can get this chest piece if you just use a Veiled Chaos Orb. If the Veiled mod is a prefix, then you're pretty much guaranteed to get Elemental Ailment Immunity. I tested out on Path of Exile and it was actually a pretty common occurrence. So you could do that early on to try to get Ailment Immunity as early on as possible. So I went to take out these nodes in the tree because it helps you get 20%, and then Wind Dancer helps a lot, and then Volpact and Vitality Void Leech. So the character is actually like pretty tanky, but This brings us to the topic of Soul Tether. So how Soul Tether works is it gives you leech even after your life is full. So if you, it'll keep you leeching. So basically, it acts as a health potion that's constantly up. Without the Soul Tether belt, you can also get Immortal Ambition with Glorious Vanity. The character does not feel good for bossing at all. If you take like any bossing damage and you're not attacking and actively leeching, then you're pretty screwed. So that means on fights like Uber Elder or Shaper, when there's puddles on the ground, you pretty much are at much higher risk of dying if you don't have a Soul Tether or Glorious Vanity. So that's part of the reason why I'm running Soul Tether, to get Immortal Ambition. So I don't know if it says what Immortal... So Immortal Ambition says life leech effects are not removed at full life. Life leech effects recover energy shield instead while in full life. So this is actually pretty big. So it means that your leech will be constantly going even when you're not attacking the boss, because it doesn't go away at full life. Now, this does mean that we lose the belt slot. So for the belt slot, we want to use a regular life belt. So I have a regular life belt somewhere here. So you want to use a regular life belt, like just an HP belt, and resist. And then you want to try to get Immortal Ambition with Glorious Vanity. So what does this mean? So for this build, right away, you see that there's some uniques that you need to farm in order to play this build at SSF. So you need to get a Soul Tether belt, which is pretty much impossible to actually get, unless like you get lucky and drop it, because you can't really Ancient Orb belts anymore, because Ancient Orbs are pretty rare with the Valdos nerf. Or you have to farm Glorious Vanity. So in order to farm Glorious Vanity, that means that you'll be spending a lot of time in Yuva Steer and doing Emblematic and trying to get Harvest and switching over to Splinters to Marikev. And then praying when doing the Legion 5-way or whatever the encounter to get the Marikev emblem and then to drop the Glorious Vanity. So that's actually already something really, really annoying to do. And then for the shield, you need to farm Red Blade Banner. So you have to go to Lyra Ardain. And then you have to get Lighthouse. So if you don't complete this map, Shipyard and Mausoleum, so Lighthouse is your only T12 or T5 or whatever. So if you start off the league, you can do Lighthouse at T5. And every single T5 that drops will be Lighthouse. So if you do a Tier 4 here, Tier 4, Tier 4, or Tier 3, or Tier 4, all of these maps will drop Lighthouse. So that's one way you can farm Lighthouse. But what this means is if you're farming Lighthouse, that means you can't really progress the Atlas that well, so you'll be stuck doing Lighthouse for a long time. And I personally did over like 50 to 60 maps before I dropped the Red Blade Banner. So the strategy in a race setting is pretty bad because you're so reliant on an RNG event that's pretty low chance to happen by itself. So also make sure if you want to play the Berserker to not complete the other Tier 5 maps, or you'll be in big trouble, because then you'll be dropping other maps besides Lighthouse. They put one of the stones in, you can see that Lighthouse is 9, this one is 8, 9, so you don't want to complete Mausoleum ever. Put another stone in, and then you can see there's another map, Shipyard here. So Lighthouse is still, so make sure Lighthouse is the only map with the tier, and then the other maps in the region don't have the same amount of stones in. So this means that this character is reliant on getting Red Blade Banner and Soul Tether or Glorious Vanity before it's able to be competitive with Slayer or another source of another Slammer. But I'm just talking about the Slayer, because the Slayer actually benefits a lot because it does not need to farm Soul Tether, and it does not need to farm this, and it does not need to farm Glorious Vanity, so it's ready to go. The only thing that they probably do need to farm is Valdos and try to Ancient Orb Lion's Roar, so that's why I have a unique flask here to Ancient Orb. So I'm able to get the Elemental Ailment Immunity. I touched upon it on the last video, and you get 40% chance to avoid ailments. This goes up to 45%, 25, 25 on helmet and gloves. And then you can get like 20% on the tree from Thick Skin, or you can anoint Elemental Focus up here for 10%. Or you can get, what's it called, 15% from Crystal Skin. So yeah, it's a pretty good, I mean, the character is strong enough. I do think after playing it with a one-hander, and it should be enough to actually kill all the bosses. But in this practice setting, I didn't play enough, so it was actually kind of hard to farm all the sets. And I did do a Shaper, but something unfortunate happened in the Shaper. Make sure, if you're not trying to do the Feared, you should turn off Maven on the Elder and Shaper fights. It makes it a lot harder, especially when Maven decides to clone the Shapers and the Shapers are shooting stuff while you're in the zone of invulnerability. I'll include a short clip of the fiasco that happened on my Shaper attempt. But overall, this is the Berserker. There's a lot of key bindings. There's Enduring Cry, there's Intimidating Cry, Seismic Cry. So if you're asking how to play the character, you press Seismic Cry, you attack twice, then you press Intimidating Cry. So all this stuff is a more multiplier of more damage on the exerted attacks. And then you attack 3 times, and then you detonate it with Enduring Cry, and then you repress Seismic Cry and go again. So you attack twice, Intimidating Cry, attack 3 times, detonate it, and then redo the cycle over and over again. So you can see there's actually a slight rotation going on, and make sure to press your totems down, and then turn on Blood Rage. So this is the Vault Ancestral War Chief. And also make sure to keep up Berserk, and then make sure to focus your Fortify if you are about to take a big hit of damage. So you can see there's a lot of stuff to do on this character, so that's why it is a very hard to play character. Your movement skill is Smoke Mine, and then you have Flame Dash. So pretty high skill cap character, and you have to make sure that Berserk is always up. So there's just so many aspects to keep track of. So I don't really recommend you to play it if you haven't really played PoE that much before, or Slammers in general. And yeah, so hopefully everything goes well tomorrow in this character, and I get some good RNG, and I get blessed with the Red Blade banner and a Glorious Vanity in day 1. But now I want to talk quickly about sleep and how you could actually stay awake, or how viable it is to stay awake. So let's go over how to actually stay awake for 50 hours and if you should. So I went and typed in this 5 stages of sleep deprivation. So after 24 hours, so this is like everyone can stay awake for 24 hours if they put their mind to it. It's common to miss 24 hours of sleep. It also won't cause major health problems, but you can expect to feel tired and off. That's not too bad. Feeling tired and off could be a little bad because it's a hardcore event, but staying awake for 24 hours may cause symptoms like drowsiness. I might be a little tired. Irritability, might be a little irritated. I haven't found my unique shield and Glorious Vanity yet. Anger, that I'm still doing low level maps and lighthouses. Fatigue and tremors, reduced coordination, food cravings. So maybe I should eat some food. Increased risk of mistakes or accidents. That sounds bad, right? You don't want to be making mistakes. What if I just don't press like focus fortify, or forget to fortify before I run into a pack? But yeah, so let's see what happens after 36 hours. When you miss 36 hours of sleep, your symptoms become more intense. You'll have an overwhelming urge to sleep. So the last league I stayed awake for 40 hours, and I did feel this overwhelming urge to sleep after 36 hours. You may start to have micro sleeps, so you could literally fall asleep while mapping for a brief period of time, and they last up to 30 seconds. Yeah, you can be on autopilot, and then you suddenly wake up. It's like, oh no, I'm in a map. So different parts of the brain will have a hard time communicating with each other. This severely impairs your cognitive performance, slow reaction time, increased errors, difficulty processing social cues, impaired decision making. So this is how people like Zizaran put in a reflect map or don't read what it is. But that's why you play a Slayer, so you can't put in Fizz Reflect because you're immune to Fizz Reflect. So basically you just get impaired immune function. If you ever stay awake for a long time, you do get sick. And I do realize it's happening to myself sometimes. So missing sleep for 48 hours is known as extreme sleep deprivation. At this point, it's even harder to stay awake. Even more microsleeps and you'll have hallucinations. I have had hallucinations once when I stayed awake for 48 hours when hiking in, what's it called, Mount Whitney. And I remember I started to think that the sign was a bear that was like popping up. And I do think that that's a pretty big thing. I don't know if I was at 72 hours yet though. 72 hours is pretty crazy. But after 3 days of sleep loss, your urge to sleep will get worse, and then you get longer and longer micro sleeps. Then you have illusions, delusions, disordered thinking, depersonalization. So what does this all mean? If you're playing a hardcore event, you should sleep for like 2 hours or 3 hours. Because like if you sleep for 2 or 3 hours after the first 24 hours, and then play again for another 24 hours, then you should be good to finish the event. And this is for a very few amount of people, right, who can actually finish the event in 50 to 60 hours. So 1 sleep is the best, and the reason is there's too many chances of making mistakes. There's really no point in also harming your body. There's no point in staying awake for this long. And that's like one of the main annoying things about PoE is the fact that the races do force people to put so much stress on their body, because that's just how it's one way to gain an advantage. Like personally for me, I'm not the best racer, so if I just stayed awake for an extra hour or two, then I would catch up all the advantage that someone has from racing, right? Because most people clear Act 10 storyline 1 to 2 hours faster, or 2 to 3 hours if they're a really, really good racer. So if someone is a racer, a top tier racer, and they barely sleep, they're pretty much just gonna win, unless one of these things happens where increased risk of mistakes or accidents happen, and they make a mistake or die or not pay attention. So yeah, I do believe this race will be a lot harder without Perma Berserk with Chainbreaker, and it'll be interesting to see how the boss kills go. At the same time, I also think it will get completed faster because increased AoE makes mapping a lot easier compared to multi-proj, so you don't need to be as safe. And yeah, I'm going to show the clip of my Shaper. So after the Shaper happened, I pretty much just gave up, because missing out on a Shaper stat and a Uber Elder fragment means that I would probably never be able to farm enough sets to get an Uber Elder, because farming the sets actually take a while, and it actually is a long part of the last part of the push to get all the bosses finished. So I'm gonna play this clip.
When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah.
And yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the clip. So do not put Maven on the boss fight if you're trying to do it. Unless you're trying to go for the feared later on, do not do it. You will die if you get the clones. And if you get the clones, you should probably just log out and sack the set and live to fight another day. Some quick tips I have for like the Gauntlet and before is to save a set of leveling gear, even though you think you may never die. And you will probably want to play again maybe. And you'll always miss out on vendoring in the leveling gear. It happens every time. I'm pretty much like, I'll never re-roll if I die. And I will never die. And I just vendor a gold rim, a wanderlust, literally like 2 or 3 maps before I die. And then I die, and then I look at my unique tab, and it's like, there's nothing there. And then I'm like, did I really need to vendor it? And the answer is no. So if you plan to play in the long run, make sure to save leveling gear, and it will make your re-roll after your depressing death a lot better. But if you enjoyed the content, be sure to like and subscribe. I will be streaming the whole race on my Twitch. And I'll try to make like daily update videos, because I think it's pretty good. And making the daily update videos is pretty fast. And it also helps me get a better bearing on what I need to do to finish my character. Because while I'm talking it out, it makes a lot more sense. But anyhow, everyone, thanks for watching. And I hope everyone joins me tomorrow on the Gauntlet. I'm pretty much 100% going to play a Berserker. There is a tiny chance if I wake up and I'm feeling a little courageous, I will play an Ascendant again. Because I actually think that Slayer is really good. And so is Juggernaut. Cannot be chilled, cannot be stunned. But yeah, anyhow, everyone, thanks for watching. And I'll see you tomorrow or whatever for the next update. And I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do. And thanks for watching.